Park's classic rock, Q1043.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Jonathan Clark here in the studio on Q1043's Out of the Box. We are very honored to have a very special guest with us. His name is Chester Bennington, and he's from Linkin Park. How are you, man?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me.
I like the outfit. It's got a black thing going on, a matching hat. It's very nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to,
Doing
to
a
look
New
my
York
best
thing?
for you. Trying to look my best for you.
Okay, so the new album, 7th studio album, One More Light, available May 19th. Brad, Mike, the rest of the guys are in here in spirit, but you
Yes.
are with us, so we thank you for that.
I do have all the possession of all of their souls.
We love that. Linkin Park, really, really popular, like since Hybrid Theory, like 17 years ago. That was the first album. Does it seem like 17 years to you?
It seems longer than that almost.
Really?
Almost like longer and short. Like it seems like yesterday and forever ago at the same time. Does that make sense?
Maybe.
It's weird. It's weird because I still kind of feel like we're new to a certain degree. Like
Yeah.
I don't, but at the same time I have to realize like Hybrid Theory came out like 17, 18 years ago, something
Yeah.
like that. And it's been a really crazy, fast, wild ride. We always work. Like it just seems like we're always going and going and going.
Yeah.
So there's not been a lot of time to sit back and reflect.
Well, when you look at what the band has achieved, and hopefully I won't embarrass you with these statistics, but Linkin Park is the #1 band on Facebook in the world. And we were talking about Facebook before, that you haven't ever posted anything anywhere. But Linkin Park has 62 million likes. That's 62 million who follow everything that Linkin Park does on Facebook. Views on YouTube, the first band to surpass 1 billion. That's billion with a B. Views on YouTube, currently 3 billion. Is that a bizarre world to live in when all these people are knowing what the band is doing? I mean, I guess it's what you want, but when you were, first getting together as a band and you're, loading the van and like pulling muscles, like putting amps in the back and not sleeping, and the van breaks down in Minnesota in January.
Yeah.
I mean, is it a kind of a bizarre world to live in now?
We just got a new stat you could add to that list. I think we just surpassed 4 billion streams on Pandora,
Oh
which
my
is
God.
insane.
Yeah.
So like the numbers just keep becoming more absurd. And
Yeah.
and that to me is really crazy because I actually, when I'm not touring, like I have a pretty normal life. Like there's not a whole lot of craziness surrounding who I am, I
Yeah.
guess, in the terms of being in Linkin Park. I get to just be Chester.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy, but I kind of have like a great big small life.
Right. And
You
maybe
know?
the best of both worlds.
And that's something that we do pride ourselves on. Like we've always tried to, make it about the music and not make it about the personalities. And, when we're out and about and doing things, like we keep things pretty mellow, and, there's not a whole lot of tabloid fodder.
Right,
for
thank
us.
God.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
and-
you might not still be together. You never know, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's the thing that we wanted to, kind of keep precious was we know our limits as human beings to a certain degree, like, and we try to respect that. We know how many shows we can play. Like, we know how many weeks we can be on the road before we start losing our minds. And
yeah,
so we try to we try to have a balance in our philosophy, in our business and in our personal lives. And so, and especially creatively, like we don't ever want to like put ourselves in a box. So creatively, the sky's the limit. In terms of business and family, like we know our limits for sure.
Well, I think maybe in Los Angeles, you can probably go get a cup of coffee and a donut or a bagel or whatever like that, but maybe not so in different parts of the world.
Well, like when I'm in China, I'm pretty much like the only guy that looks like the dude from Linkin Park. You know what I mean?
But like Russia, like fans are nuts, right? Like,
They do get crazy, yeah. And there's and like when you're in Moscow, there's not that many places that you're gonna stay. It's like there's a couple places that you stay at, and
yeah,
so but yeah, I mean it's we have some pretty amazing fans. Like, in Germany is probably our biggest market in the world. Like, it's crazy. Like, I don't know. We're like the Beatles in like
Yeah.
Germany. It's pretty nuts. And I just go out and walk around and like nobody bothers me because I feel like um, the type of energy that you seek or the type of attention that you seek is what you get. And but like um, I go running around Berlin like anybody else, and
Yeah.
nobody really messes with me.
His name is Chester Bennington. The band Linkin Park, of course, a new album, One More Light, seventh studio album, available May 19th. I saw a video, guys, you did, I guess it was really just recently, last week. You're performing the songs from the new album, sort of unplugged, not the full band. And you were talking about, making this new album. And it was by far maybe the most fun you've had in a long time because you got to sort of cut your vocals to sort of basic tracks. It wasn't like the full on raw Linkin Park,
Yeah.
like everything's ready, cut your vocals, Chester. It was sort of you just having fun speaking and singing over these basic tracks.
Yeah, I mean, on most of the songs, I recorded, you know, the vocal literally over like a piano, and no drums, no synths, no electronics, nothing. It was just a piano or an acoustic guitar, and um, it was very calming and very trance-like, and also we brought in uh, some vocal producers. Typically, like it's me and Mike in a room.
Yeah,
And I wanted to not only give ourselves the experience of having something new in terms of the way we wrote the songs and who we wrote the songs with, but also having a different perspective of how to approach the vocals from someone who just wanted to get a great vocal
so it was
out of
like
the
a sort
artist.
of a quiet sort of experience for you, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and it just opened it up to be, more soulful, a little bit sexier. There's a little more swag in the songs than I think people would be normally like be used to hearing from us.
and the band always pushing the envelope musically, artistically, of what a rock band was and now is these days. And you guys have always been willing to sort of, trust your fans with musical experimentation. The band's name at one point was Hybrid Theory,
Yeah.
and it was the name of the first album too.
Hmm.
Um, and you continue to do so with this first song, Heavy, which is not a heavy song, maybe heavier lyrically, but it is in essence a duet with Kiara, who was very well known in the pop electronic
Hmm.
world. And as it turned out, she was a huge fan of Linkin Park.
Yeah.
Go figure, right?
I think that our music has always been fun for me to be a part of because it's like being in a new band every time we make a record. You know, um, we just kind of like as long as we feel inspired, we just want to make music that we feel like making. Like we didn't set out like on our musical journey and like have a destination. We weren't like when we get to a certain place stylistically, like that's where we're gonna live. We've always kind of been with the name Hybrid Theory, like that was the intention behind, and that's what felt so good about that name was it described us perfectly. We take all these different things and we splice them up and we put them together to create something new, and and that's our identity.
Yeah,
We had to change our name unfortunately for some political reasons,
yeah,
but it did sum up who we are, not necessarily that record.
right.
And that's still very much part of who we are to this day. I think that Hybrid Theory, the title Hybrid Theory, kind of fits us really to the core of who we are.
Well, I think that's a great way to be because if you look at the sort of legendary artists, David Bowie, for example, comes to mind immediately. I mean, what album that he did sounded like the next album ever?
None of them.
Yeah, exactly. U2, bands like this,
Yeah.
always reinventing themselves. So getting back to Kiara, she is all of 21, I think. She's not known a world really without Linkin Park. What's that like to work with somebody like that in the studio?
It was funny, but I think I was talking about like the year I would have graduated high school, and she was like, I wasn't even born then. And so I was like, oh my
Ouch.
gosh.
Yeah.
Like, little reality checks like that, like kind of make me laugh because I literally feel like a little kid. Like,
Yeah.
my oldest son, like, looks like my brother. You know what I mean? And so, it's just really funny, but like, it's crazy. I have to remember, like, a lot of the people that are going to be listening to this record probably have never bought a CD in their life. They
Right.
they will never buy a
Like,
CD in
what
their
is a
lives,
CD? Yeah.
and that was the case like from even our second or third record. Like I think when we made Minutes to Midnight, it was like the average 15-year-old at that point had never purchased a CD in their lives.
Yeah.
So, that was back in 2007. So here we are 10 years later.
An
It doesn't surprise
eternity.
me. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me. And even a lot of our fans, like now they're coming to shows with their husbands and their kids. And, we've watched them grow up. Like I'll remember them coming to the very first,
That's
meet
cool.
and greet, 18 years ago. And I've seen them, grow up and change in their lives, and they're still fans, and it's really cool.
It's Chester Bennington from Linkin Park, the new studio album, the seventh, One More Light, available May 19th. Is there anything wrong with making the perfect pop song? I don't think so, right? I mean,
What's wrong with that?
yeah, exactly.
No, absolutely not. Um, it's funny because, like, with us, like, it doesn't seem to matter what kind of song we write, whether it's a pop song or like a mid-tempo, alternative song or a hip hop track or a screamer. Um, we get the same polarized response from our fan base every single time. Um, it's just been that way for us since the beginning. I remember when we released Hybrid Theory, it got like 2 stars in Rolling Stone. No one wanted to sign us to any deal. No one knew how to even like push the record. And one article written by a guy in Seattle said basically that I was responsible for every horrible thing that's ever happened to
Oh
humankind.
my god, you can't read
And
the. Oh my
and it's
god.
so funny, but that's like gone on to be like one of the I think it's the biggest debuting album of all of the
Yeah,
21st century. So, and one of the biggest of all time. So, like it's just it's the nature of the beast to have people that love stuff and people who don't love it, and that's okay. Like it doesn't matter. What matters is whether or not we love it.
yeah.
And when we made our very first record, we weren't thinking about anything other than is it do like would I like this? Like if I was out there listening to music, like would I like it? And what is happening in music that's not really vibing with me, and how can I make that a part of what we do? Um, and like we try to carry that into every single process of making a record. We try not to go, well, it worked really good last time, let's just do that again. The last thing we want to be is like caricatures of ourselves. Like we
Right.
want to
Yeah.
keep evolving, and like I said earlier, like our creative journey is a journey. It's not a destination. It's not a place to be and stay. It's a place to visit and then move on, and then visit and move on. And I think that's one of the reasons why here we are, 18 years later, um, making a record that we've never made before.
Well, that's the fun part. The journey is the fun part, right?
Yeah,
You don't want to
of
stay
course.
anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be remiss if I did not mention how much we all loved your work with Stone Temple Pilots.
Thank you very
I just
much.
want to say that. And we were all like, wait, maybe Chester can do both bands. Wait, maybe that's a possibility. But tell me about working with those guys.
Man, let me just tell you, I have the highest respect for Stone Temple Pilots. I love Scott. I'm sad that he's gone. Um, he was a huge supporter. I just heard a really interesting story the other day about how, he had heard the record with one of the programmers in California, and said basically like, "That's it. Like that's what you guys are gonna be playing from now on." And like that just means a lot to me because he actually introduced me to a lot of the people that I play music with. And um,
So even you knew Scott like way back in the day, right?
I've seen Stone Temple Pilots play like probably 30 times, um, and huge influence on me. And so they really made music that I absolutely loved,
Yeah.
and I still love to this day. And so the chance to go ahead and go out and perform those songs with those guys was really very, very cool. And honestly, like Robert and Dean and Eric, those guys are super talented. And I've had the privilege of being not only in Lincoln Park and being around a bunch of geniuses. Like I got to go and be in Stone Temple Pilots and be around a bunch of geniuses and just kind of sit back and like kind of ask myself like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
But yeah, I had so much fun. I actually still get to play with those guys every once in a
Right.
while,
Yeah.
and you know, I have the deep deep love, and the only reason why I'm not doing it now is because my kids, they would cry every time I'd go on the road with STP, and I don't like when I leave on tour with Linkin Park, like they're like, okay, we'll see you when you get back, and there's kind of like a, they understand what I'm doing, but when I would leave with STP, they would cry, and I started realizing, like, I think they thought I was choosing to do that over being at home with them because I'd be
Oh,
done
yeah.
with Linkin Park and coming home, and so it was just too hard on my
Right.
family. So I basically was like, you know what, I got to stop being selfish here, and when I'm not doing Linkin Park, I gotta be at home with my babies.
His name is Chester Bennington, of course, from Linkin Park. The seventh studio album, One More Light, available May 19th, and the new single, Heavy, which we will play right now. Chester, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
New York's classic rock. Q1043.